The following program contains mature subject matter. Listener discretion is advised. You are listening to Zeitgeist Lab Collections from Itchy Grundle Podcast. In Collection 3, Brian and Alex metaphorically traveled north to Canada to investigate the Canadian content that seems to be pervasive everywhere. This is episode 12. Fucked Up, David Comes to Life.
So this is an intro specifically for this episode.
Hello, my name is Alex. His name is Fentusler. This is the Zeitgeist Lab Collections. Today we have a guest. Her name is Veronica. Let's pod together till the stars go out.
Wow.
Welcome to the Zeitgeist Lab Collections podcast.
Wow. That was incredible.
Thank you.
I feel so welcomed. Someone tried to call me in the middle of that too, so a little bit of it got cut off, but it's okay.
That's unfortunate.
It really is. But I'll hear it back in the episode. Like I'm excited to listen.
Right. So, for those of you who couldn't understand my amazing screaming, this is the Zeitgeist Lab Collections podcast. I am Alex with Brian, also known as the Fentusler, because that's how many syllables I needed. And we're joined this week by Veronica, co-host of Thank You for the Podcast, also known as Toes.exe. What's going on, guys?
Hi. I just got done with dinner with my mom, and now I'm here. That's what's going on with me.
Nice. And what was for dinner?
We went to a restaurant known as Rockneys. Okay. I don't know if they have them other places. It might be an Ohio thing, but yeah, it's Americana. No, just Rockneys. I don't know how to describe it. It's just like bad American diner type thing. It was fine. It was fine. She had a good time. That's all that matters.
Right. Yeah. It's Christmas time. We got to keep our moms happy.
Yeah, it was her birthday too today.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's why we went to that. I'm gonna do the Christmas stuff here soon enough.
Gotcha. Okay. And Brian, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing pretty great, man.
Pretty great. So that means you're pretty well high.
Yeah. No, I took a half day at work, came home, got really high, and listened to late 2000s deathcore.
Nice.
Okay.
Nice. I'm not even sure what that means, but I love it.
You know, like bands like Despised Icon and Annotations of an Autopsy, that kind of shit.
Yeah, I can make my own assumptions.
Yeah.
I think I could use context clues. Like, if you showed me, I don't think I'd be surprised, is what I'm saying.
Right.
Yeah, check it out. It's really good.
I just might. I just might do that. I'm really
off like you were praising me for my music recommendations. So.
I was, and I meant that, like, for real. That's how you know I meant it, because I said it off mic.
True.
Right, yeah, true. That's where the real truth is spoken, is when the red light's off.
Yeah. I'm so excited to be here for this episode, though. I really am.
And we're really excited to have you. I think that you are, of all the people that I know anyway, I think you're the expert on what we're here to talk about. And again, if it's not clear from, one, the narrator's announcement at the beginning of the episode, and then two, my amazing screaming, we are here to talk about the band Fucked Up and their album David Comes to Life. But we'll get to that in just a few minutes. I mean, I don't know. Is there any business to take care of at the top here, Brian?
No, not really. I can't think of anything. I don't have any interesting stories from work.
Okay.
Lately. Other than, like, off mic, we were talking about the lady that sits behind me that has, like, a cartoon character voice that I have to listen to all day.
Like, which cartoon character? Like Yosemite Sam, or?
No, like an adult woman doing the voice for, like, a young girl.
Okay.
Okay.
Like Angelica from the Rugrats or something.
Okay.
You guys watched...
Sorry, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Did you guys watch the Cowboy Bebop? Cowboy Bebop?
No.
The real life version.
Yeah,
No.
that's fair.
Did
No.
you?
Oh, she's like the lady that sits behind me also sounds like Edward from that show.
Oh, really? That's fun. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've been watching it. I'm kind of bouncing back and forth between that and a few things, but yeah, I've been watching it.
Is it any good?
It's pretty good. I think people are
I heard
shitting on it.
terrible.
I think people are shitting on it unnecessarily. I don't think it's as bad as they're saying. I think expectations were too high. And man, that trailer was bad though. I'll admit the trailer makes it look like dog shit. The show's kind of weird. Like if you've never watched the anime, I wouldn't recommend watching it because you'll be like, you won't be lost plot wise because like there's barely a fucking plot to follow sometimes, but you'll be lost like tonality wise. The show has like a really weird tone to it to begin with, and then them translating it the way that they've done into this live action version, and with the minor modifications that they've done, would be enough to lose like an audience. But I don't know, if you're a fan of the show and like I don't know, if you don't mind a few small changes and shit, it's not bad. But don't go out of your way to watch it if it's not your kind of thing.
Yeah, I'm probably not gonna watch it.
Yeah, I doubt I will ever watch it. Yeah.
No, I don't blame you. Like I think the first episode's fun, but like it's an hour long. But then some episodes are like 30 minutes long. Like I don't know what's going on with that. Yeah, but I don't know. That's been fun for me. But I've also been rewatching the original alongside it, so that's been really fun too.
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah,
So-
the original's pretty great.
So before we get to our normal segment here, where we receive questions at our Grundle, I had a question for you, and that is like, what's going on with your podcast? Is it just non-existent anymore, or is it just on hiatus?
Oh, we're just really busy.
Just really
Honestly.
busy. Okay.
Yeah, like Frank's working full time again, which is cool. And then I've been doing stuff with the band more. And we had like, God, that Halloween show really threw us for a loop too, man. That was a lot of practicing I had to do for that.
Okay.
Yeah, that was like, I was like, hey, I'm not doing like anything but this like in my free time for like this whole 2 months leading up to it because I've really committed to something here.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. We're just kind of taking it a little slower these days. Not
Gotcha.
trying to worry so much about it, focus on life. But we're still making plans for it. Like we still have a lot that we really want to do for it, and like new stuff we want to try. And like we're also probably going to upload some non-MyChem related stuff to it as well. That won't be, it'll be separate from the main thing, but it'll still be on our podcast channel.
Okay.
We just want to talk about other stuff is all.
Well, that's okay. Well, that's good. I wasn't sure what was going on.
Yeah.
This is like your first time in front of a podcast mic in like at least a month, and even that you've only done like one episode since your big 9/11.
Yeah, the 9/11.
extravaganza.
God, the 9/11 episode was really good though. I think.
Well,
we really
course.
we really dove deep into that one, man. I was impressed with how much research was put into it, and I was on it. So
Right. Well,
but, yeah, that's just kind of it. Like nothing crazy.
okay, good. I wasn't sure if maybe like one of you is dead. I mean, obviously not you since you're here. Or
No.
you're in jail, or I don't know.
No,
what
we're both cool. But yeah, just
good.
life's been kind of busy, and like how the holidays can be on all of us.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But yeah, look forward to more of that. We'll be doing more MyChem episodes, and we'll also probably be doing some other things too to entertain ourselves and just to add some variety to it.
Well, great. All right. Well, we'll look forward to that. Okay, Brian, what news do you bring from the Grundle this week? And Veronica here will be able to answer. I think we only got one question. It's a really fucking stupid question, but let's just get through this.
Yeah,
thing.
we only got one here today.
Oh, I think I know what it is too.
Yeah, well, Veronica be our guest, and like you usually suggest something.
Oh
So,
yeah,
feel free.
I didn't even know I was gonna be the guest.
That's very last minute. Yes.
Yeah, I was like at work, and so I don't have anything. But that's not why I didn't ask a question. I just didn't feel like it this week.
Okay,
That's all
that's
right.
fair. That's fine.
Yeah, I didn't have anything good to ask either. Like I thought what I asked last week was pretty good, and I was like, I just don't have anything to top that right now.
Well, you know what?
Yeah,
I appreciate that.
Good topics for us.
But I appreciate that when you have nothing good to ask, you just say nothing, because Buttermuffin does not follow that idea. So, Brian, why don't you go ahead and ask this question for us?
Yeah, Buttermuffin wants to know 6 or 8 feet igloo. And there's a poll which has a whopping 2 votes.
I was one of the votes, and I don't remember what I even clicked.
I'm the other one, and I also don't remember what I clicked.
So one of us...
Someone said 6 feet, and the other person said 8 feet. So
I feel like I said 8.
Buttermuffin says, I'll go with 7 feet. Just meet in the middle.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's real, that's some real, like, libertarian type talk.
Yeah.
I don't know Buttermuffin super well, so...
Well, consider yourself lucky. So we know that we answered. So, Brian, I think you need to answer. Would you go with a 6-foot or an 8-foot igloo?
I go for 8 foot. You got more room.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's why I said that too. I mean, it's more work, I guess, but you do have more igloo.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I mean, presuming you have to build it, the poll wasn't very clear.
That's true, but we know that Buttermuffin tries building igloos, so I assume he's the one building it.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
He is the resident igloo builder.
I see.
So, Buttermuffin, thanks for the question. Please don't keep them coming. I think that wraps up our questions from the Grundle. So let's just get into this thing. Just much like last week, I have just been so fucking busy with life that I cannot fathom researching a podcast episode. And also, unlike Frank and Veronica, I cannot fathom taking a break from this. So I've invited Veronica here to be our resident expert about the album we're talking about, which is Fucked Up, David Comes to Life. So, I don't know. Give us the overview. I know that this is an album that you are fairly passionate about. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah. I might get kind of emotional on this episode. I don't know. Hopefully
that's perfect. That's according to hold on, let me check. According to toes.exe, that is when this podcast is its best. So
true. So I'll do my best to hold it together. But okay, I'll start with just the record itself. So at this point in Fucked Up's career, they started as this hardcore band making just like, skate punk / hardcore type shit. It's fast. It's whatever. It's fun. And eventually they're like, oh, we should write, more complex music, I guess. So they start doing that. They get a lot of like metal influences going. I think their big record that they end up releasing that wins them like a lot of awards is Chemistry of Common Life. And then this, I believe, is the follow-up to that, if I have my timeline correct. David Comes to Life.
Okay.
And David Comes to Life is usually described in so many words as a rock opera. I know the band doesn't like to describe it that way, and I get why. But it is essentially their rock opera in the sense that it's very narrative heavy. There's well-defined characters for the most part.
It's their American Idiot.
Yeah, it really is. It's their Black Parade. It's whatever, man. Like it's their record that they did that thing with. Mm-hmm. Their Tommy, I guess, is the first like big one that a lot of people talk about. Is when it comes to a rock opera. I think there's not really a better one to compare all of them to. So that's what they end up making essentially. But you have to keep in mind it's a band that has written nothing like this before. Like occasionally you get a song that has a little bit of indie rock in it or is a bit psychedelic, but for them to go this exact route with like the whole record, and to have it sound so like, I don't know, concise, like everything kind of fits together real well, like tonally, I think, and sonically, it's really interesting. it's kind of impressive when you think about it, like in the context of like, I don't know, the same band that wrote Police wrote this record, and those feel like two completely different worlds to me, and I think most people who would, I don't know, throw those songs on. So that's kind of where they are at this point.
Okay. Now, I know you said that you might get emotional about this, which is probably puts you at like a bias to probably thinking that this is their best album. But if you could okay, so you don't think this is their best album?
Not at all.
Okay.
No, and I'll say that real quick. I don't think this is their best record. I think this is a really interesting record. I think it's really fun. I think it is very influential in a lot of ways, and I think it draws from a lot of influences too, which I think is super cool. But in no means is this their best record. I think if I was going to say one of their records was the best, it's probably like, I don't know. The right thing to say is like, I don't know, Epics in Minutes or something like that, or Hidden World. But I don't know. Yeah. I really like Chemistry of Common Life, and actually, I love Glass Boys. I think Glass Boys is such an underrated record.
I've never heard that one.
It's the follow-up to this one. It comes between this and Dose Your Dreams, and it's specifically a record that they said has nothing to do with the story of David, which otherwise is a persisting story and character in all of their like major releases.
So this is not the only album that focuses on the character of David?
Not at all. As a matter of fact, in their first full-length record called Hidden World, there is a song, I think it's like the second track, called David Comes to Life.
Okay.
And that is where it all starts, so to speak.
But the rest of these albums, none of the other ones would be classified as like an opera or a concept album, or are all their albums concept albums? Well,
and that's where we get into it. It's like, technically they all are, but they're all about the same concept, all about the same, like, they essentially just have a character that they assign all of these things to. Like, okay, this time, this is what David's up to. This is what he's going through, whether it's really vague and vibe-based, or it's very direct, like this record. Like, this is exactly what's happening to him.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Sure. No, I think that makes sense. So, do you think... I'm just trying to think, like, what are the right questions? Okay, first, why do you... I mean, I'm going to trust that you know more about this band than we do. Maybe I'm wrong. Sorry, Brian, if you think you're some sort of fucked up expert and I've just completely missed the boat here.
I'm far from
okay.
fucked up
expert.
No, I think Brian knows enough, though.
Sure, I absolutely believe that. But do you have any notion of why the band doesn't like to associate this with the term rock opera?
I was reading today about this, and they said because it's not like the songs aren't directly saying like what exactly happens all the time. Uh-huh. It's not like he's reading a narrative necessarily. Okay. A lot of the things are like, this thing happened. We're not necessarily going to say what the thing was all the time, but this is how the character has reacted to it, or this is what the character is going through. Sometimes there's a bit more direct, like, okay, this is what's going on, but for the most part, it's a lot of like emotion and feeling, and bridging the gap between the story with like, I don't know, kind of your own imagination, so to speak.
Okay.
It's not as direct of a rock opera as like I said, drawing back to Tommy, where it's like, this is exactly what's happening. He's doing these things and I'm singing about it. I think that's why they don't associate it with that, but every music outlet refers to this as a rock opera or their rock opera, and I think that's fine. I don't think it matters.
Yeah, no, I don't think so either. I'm just interested in why they would try to distance themselves from that.
Yeah, and maybe they don't think that anymore. I think that interview was from around when the record came out. It's very possible that they're like, yeah, it's a rock opera. Who cares?
Right. Okay. Okay, so Brian, maybe at this point, so I've been listening back to some of our old episodes. We may or may not have had a Patreon episode where we discussed the international superheroes of hardcore. I don't remember. It may have actually been about the royal family. That's kind of a blurry time for me. We definitely talked about a hardcore band earlier this season called Pantychrist, and I found that there's this this recurring theme in our podcast that I'm often asking people to explain hardcore to me because I still just don't get it. and no one's done it yet. So Brian, though, as our hardcore expert, is this album? Would you consider this hardcore? Is this an album you enjoy as a hardcore man, or where do you fall with this album?
Yeah, I was thinking about that when I was listening to it today. I was like, it doesn't like, I don't know. It feels really light compared to like something like Drop Dead or like Napalm Death or whatever.
Yeah, for sure.
I totally know what you guys are talking about, so that's great.
I see what you're getting at, though, Brian. Like, yeah, this record for sure is barely a hardcore record, and I don't know. I think recently I've tried to define what defines a band as a hardcore band, and I think it's somehow defined by the fans. I think if enough hardcore dudes show up to your show and they start two-stepping and moshing, it doesn't really matter what kind of music you're playing. All of a sudden, I'm at a hardcore show.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when I went to see Tiger's Jaw on the self-titled tour, like, they played a few of their newer songs to start, and then they're like, okay, we're going to play the self-titled record now. And all of a sudden, I was at a hardcore show, and I'm like, whoa, what's going on here? And that's when I realized, oh, Tiger's Jaw must be a hardcore band, but only when they play their early stuff. And that was weird.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, like, because all of a sudden these kids came out of the woodwork, like, they weren't here 10 minutes ago, and they start fucking throwing fists, and I'm like, bro, I was really just chilling a second ago.
Right, yeah.
Sorry, if you're not familiar with their music, Brian, it's usually, like, very chill.
No, I know them.
Or, sorry, Alex, I said Brian, my bad.
In a while, but...
Oh, I'm sorry. I blacked out over here.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I understand. I'm kind of just rambling here.
No, that's fine. Like, I'm sure our listeners will love this. Like, I'm sorry. I just can't get into the hardcore discourse. It's just not. That's not where my head is at.
It's like the only reason I enjoy it is because I think it's dumb as fuck. Like, I think it's like so stupid, but also like so interesting because it's. I don't know. It's all really vibe based, I think. And
yeah.
Like,
yeah, no, there are bands that I love just because of how stupid they are.
Yeah, right?
Like have you heard Tsunami?
No, I haven't. But if it's stupid, I'm interested.
That's a perfect example of what I'm talking about.
Like, when you think about the band Fucked Up, it's like, yeah, there's like 6 fucking people on stage or whatever to play a hardcore song? Like, really?
Yeah.
Like, that's stupid. Why do you need 3 guitar players to do that? Like, the Foo Fighters don't need 3 guitar players.
Right.
Like, so, like, it's pretty stupid. And, like, I don't know, like, these, like, complex narratives that they, you know, make for themselves, for their records that, like, not many people really care about that much. But, like, it's there if you want to dig into it. And I appreciate that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Like, okay. I think it gives the band longevity is all I'm trying to say. Sorry, Alex.
No, you're fine. So I do want to dig into the specific story in just a minute, but I think there's another question I had as we're kind of circling around this: what is and isn't hardcore? Which I don't think I'll ever be satisfied with anyone's answer. But what I will say is, when Brian, when we talked about Pantychrist, you sorry, I was laughing at the name. I'm so immature, I can't believe it. Okay. You had talked about, they had one song that was like 3 minutes, and you're like, they can get the fuck out of here with this because that's not hardcore or whatever. And Veronica, I think in our Lost interview ages ago, you had mentioned that you have like a lot of opinions on like what, like the length of media and content and stuff.
Yeah.
So I am interested in both of your thoughts on this because, Brian, I noticed that there's a song on here. There are multiple songs that are quite long. And Veronica, the album itself is like an hour and 20 minutes or something like that, which is, again, quite long for especially a hardcore album, if I understand hardcore correctly, which admittedly maybe I don't.
Yeah.
So let's start with you, Brian. Like, does it just piss you off when you hear like a 5-minute song that's supposedly hardcore, or like?
Yeah, like this album was like, okay, so like, my thing with this band is that like, I like the early singles, like The Police 7 Inches, one of the best 7 inches there is. And like Hidden World's a really good album, but like after that, like I don't have fucking time for this band.
Okay.
No, it's a lot of time. I get it.
Like, yeah, I just like they have like Year of the Moose or whatever. Like that's like 80 minutes long.
We need to email someone. We need to email someone in Fucked Up and tell them to make Year of the Moose. Release it on fucking Canadian Independence Day or whatever.
Sure, right on Canada. That's perfect. Let's email. What's the name of this podcast? Turned Out a Punk.
Yeah.
Let's just email him there and tell him like you're the moose. Let's do this thing.
God, that's so fucking funny.
So that's not one of them?
No, there's zodiac signs.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, so it's not.
There will never be a Year of the Moose.
No. The point that Brian's making is that the zodiac stuff are like, God, yeah. Sorry, Alex is just now getting it too.
Oh God.
All of the zodiac stuff are like, oh, here's 2 songs and each of them are like 15 to 20 minutes long. Like,
Jesus.
Yeah, they literally release The Decline every other fucking year. Like,
sounds fucking awful.
Yeah, Year of the Horse is 4 songs that are each between like 20 plus minutes long. But like, if you just sit it down and consume it as one thing, it's just like, oh, okay, it's a full length record, whatever.
So is there like an artistic value in that? Because when you say that, the first thing I think is maybe 10 or 15 years ago, like Chappelle and I think Dane Cook had this contest of like who could do the longest stand-up set, and one of them did like a 14-hour set or something. It's like, well, what are you really proving? Like, it just seems like like it's long for the sake of being long. It probably stopped being funny after the first 90 minutes. So are they doing this?
Like a 24-hour show too.
Well,
yeah.
Right, but like, is it good, or are they just doing it to prove? Is it just an endurance flex?
I think it's an endurance flex.
Yeah, I think it's all marketing, PR. I think it's smart in a weird way. I mean, it's grueling, but you hear about a band that plays for a 24-hour straight show, and you're like, oh, that's fucking sick. I'm gonna go see that band live sometime, maybe. Like I don't know. It gets your attention, I think.
Okay.
Like, and that's, I mean, isn't all music just flexing?
Yeah, that's fair.
That's why, sorry, as someone who's been in a few bands and I still do, that's all we do it for. Like,
right.
We're all just trying to flex. We're all just trying to be like, look how good I am.
Right, sure. Sure, music is the world's biggest pissing contest, I guess.
I mean, it's kind of like jerking off in your own mouth, but same thing.
Haven't tried that yet.
Until you get famous, at least. Sorry. until you can be famous enough to jerk off into other people's mouths.
Mm-hmm.
I guess is what I'm getting at.
Right.
What does this have to do with this record?
I don't know. So, okay, Veronica, so the same type of question for you. What is your opinion about, I guess, first, the length of some of these songs, and just that the overall album is so fucking long? Like,
yeah.
Does this hurt it, or does this help it?
I think it hurts it from a casual standpoint. I mean, even maybe from like a serious listener standpoint or a fan of the band. But I don't know. Like, a lot of their stuff that's longer, I'll put on in the background, or I don't know, while I'm doing something where I'm kind of like in and out of focus, like playing a video game, or, you know, maybe driving and also having a conversation, or I don't know. I also smoke a lot of weed, so sometimes I like to just get real stoned and like drive around the block and listen to a record or something, or throw a vinyl on or something and just hang out or do something else. And I think it's best for that. I think for like I don't know, if I was going to just listen to a few songs on this, I think the first like 4 or 5 songs, put those on a playlist, just that. That's a great little playlist. Like, that's a great run of songs that's not too long to listen to.
Okay.
So I don't know. That's sort of how I feel about it. Like, you don't have to sit down and consume the whole thing if you don't want to. Obviously, it's supposed to be done that way, but It's a little harder to do it that way. Oh, hi. My cat's joining in for this one.
That's fine. Okay. This is a cat-friendly pod for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I do think, I don't know, but I think there's some people who just really enjoy listening to like music and to musicians like Jam or whatever, and maybe that's for them and they really like this and they like the musicality of it and all that shit. I get that too, but at the same time, this band has plenty of short, fast, fucking actual hardcore songs, like undoubtedly hardcore songs, that you can just go enjoy, and like they're perfect for that reason.
Sure.
So I don't know. I think it's nice that they have a varied discography is maybe what I'm getting at. In the case of this band, I think with any band, like if you're willing to commit to a certain degree, you're kind of just willing to like take whatever they throw at you too.
Oh yeah. No, I think like once you're sold on a band, if there's a large swath of people that are just kind of sold for life regardless of what they put out.
Yeah. And maybe I'd fall into that to some degree. There's some stuff they put out that I've only listened to like once ever, and I'm like, okay, that was fine. Probably not going to come back to that.
Like Year of the Moose.
Yeah, like the long lost Year of the Moose. But there's some stuff that just sometimes like it's good for a vibe, and it's there, and I'm familiar with the band, and I'm like, oh, that's I'll throw that on. That's cool. I think they execute a lot of it well. A lot of times when they do these like weird experimental songs, it doesn't sound disingenuous. It doesn't sound like they're just doing it for no reason. It feels like they've put a lot of effort into it. And typically they have. Like Year of the Horse apparently has been like almost a decade in the making, because it's so fucking complicated.
Right.
And there's just so many parts and shit to it. So like, I appreciate that. I think that's cool.
Okay. So for me, for this album that we're talking about, David Comes to Life, this is what I'll say. This is where I'm just going to get my 2 cents out into the world.
I'm so excited.
So I've tried so many times to listen to this album all the way. I've just pulled up a Twitter DM conversation between you and I, Veronica, all the way since June. I've tried multiple times to get into this album. And it honestly, it really is good. The first however many songs I always get through, which is probably like anywhere from 5 to 7, I'm always like, yeah, this is really good. It's very samey to me because it just seems like the same kind of thing over and over again, but it is really good. And for a hardcore band, which again I don't have a lot of experience with, I can understand some of the lyrics, so that's a plus. But even today, knowing that we're going to be talking about it, I can just never get to the end. It just seems so long. And to Brian's point, like I don't have fucking time for this band. Like it's such a long album to try to get through. But what I have heard, I think it is really good. And shit, I just lost my train of thought. But I know, like you had mentioned, like sometimes you just get stoned and drive around the block and listen to music or whatever. I don't get stoned, but for like anything that happens in like where I need background noise, this would be very acceptable background music to just kind of have going and just kind of. You said it's very kind of vibe based, and I get that. Mm-hmm. Like it's definitely something I could kind of vibe out to. Maybe not like a mellow vibe, but definitely like I need to stay upbeat type of vibe. But I hate to admit, because I always give Brian so much shit, like, you need to finish this book before we talk about it. You need to finish this album before we talk about it. You need to finish this music. And this is the first time in 3 seasons that I have come without having finished in its entirety the album we're here to talk about, which is partially the reason you're here tonight.
Yeah. No, hey, like I said, I get it. Like, I don't pass judgment when people are like, I just can't finish this fucking thing that you're into. And I'm like, yeah, that's why you're not into it. Like,
right, sure,
it didn't click with you in the same way. And that's totally understandable. I do think there's some stuff in this band's discography that if I just sent you like isolated one song, I could maybe see you enjoying it because it sounds literally nothing like this and also nothing like anything they put out in the past.
Okay.
There's stuff from Dose Your Dreams that just straight up doesn't even sound like this band. Like,
okay.
I think there's tracks where Damien doesn't even sing.
It's got like a disco vibe to it.
Yeah, it's got a lot of.
Sorry, did I just hear the word disco?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's at least one song
that one.
Yeah. I think
the
the title track I think uses like a disco beat. But either way. That album goes a lot of places. That's a whole nother.
Yeah, that's not for right here. Yeah.
Yeah, but sorry. Sorry. What where were we? Just remind me of what the question was again.
There was no question. I gave my opinion, and you were kind of responding.
Oh.
So there was not a question currently posed.
Okay, sorry, my bad. I totally understand like not being able to get through this whole thing. I do think like if you ever were to try it, like the way they have it split up on the back of the record here, it's in like 4 acts.
Okay.
I think Act 1, 2, Act 3, 4, those could almost be like just separate listen sessions. Like hey, like let's listen to the first like whatever 8 songs or whatever. That's a record. Like let's not listen to this for a while and then come back and like, oh, Truth I Know through the rest of it. That's a whole different vibe. Brings me different places. I could listen to that too.
And maybe that's like advice that I need to take, because I think the main reason that I have not gotten to it, because like I said, what I've listened to, I wouldn't discount or even say that I didn't enjoy. But my thing is, I'm very much the type of person who listens to music, podcasts, whatever, on commutes. And I'm blessed or cursed enough to have a very long commute to work. But it's still not long enough that I can get through this album. So then I'll get back in my car. I'm like, I should really start over because this is like a story, right? Like I need to consume it all at once. And then I get home and, I've got 2 small children that always demand my attention, rightfully so, that I can't just like set aside an hour and 20 minutes or whatever to try to listen to this thing all in one go. So I think part of it is just my own thing. Like, well, I have to listen to it all at once to understand what's going on, which is kind of dumb because I don't understand the lyrics enough to know what's going on half the time anyway.
And I think to the point of this band itself, I think you're just not the target audience, and they know their target audience so well at this point in time, and they still do. Like they're for fucking stoners, They're for people who have nothing to fucking do all day but listen to a goddamn hardcore record. Like,
sure, okay.
Like for real, like that's who it's for, and they know that. That's why they released Year the Fucking Horse. Like that's why they're putting it on cassette and vinyl, because people are buying them. Like because that's who they're selling to. And by the time David Comes to Life comes out, they're a pretty successful band. They clearly know how to do this. So them going into the studio and being like, hey, let's write a rock opera that Nate Roos is going to really enjoy. And then they did that. Yeah, he came on Damien's podcast and said how much he loves this record.
Oh, I know. That's the only episode of that podcast I've ever listened to, because I always need to know what Nate is up to.
That's fair. I've listened to that one and a few others too, but not many. But yeah, so that's, I don't know. That's kind of my response. I understand, but also like maybe it's just not for you, and that's fine.
That's fine. Yeah, thank you. So then maybe what I would ask now is, can you walk us through this story? I understand it's a story. I've done a little bit of research on it, but from someone who has lived and breathed this album for so long and so many times as I suspect you have, maybe you can tell us like what is the story they're telling here.
So I took more pictures of the inside of the vinyl sleeve thing just for reference, because it has like a quick synopsis of what is going on in each song. I think that very first track that's just instrumental, or like just that big like bass swell, Let Her Rest, I don't think that's meant to have any story to it because it's not listed here. But
it's very Angels and Airwaves-ish. Is what what I thought about the intro.
A lot of this record has a bit of that to it. I can see that. But each song just has like a 1 sentence like summary of what's going on. So it's not complicated. If you want, I'll just go through them.
Please, yeah, absolutely.
So Queen of Hearts, David and Veronica meet, who are the 2 main characters.
Okay, let me stop you right there. You've mentioned that David has appeared in previous albums. Is this the only album in which Veronica appears, or at least the first?
This is the only one. I think this is the only one that I think this is the first one. By that, I mean, I think there's only one other that features really any other characters. At least that have like names and roles and shit like that.
Gotcha.
So Queen of Hearts, which is like, I think Fucked Up's maybe most popular song. David and Veronica meet. I think this is this in order? Yeah, it is. Okay, cool. Under My Nose, their love mimics the symmetry of the natural world. The Other Shoe, is this? Yeah, this is Okay.
I think
I'm
that's
so
in
sorry.
Because I was looking at some of them earlier. That sounds perfect.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm going to keep this flipped over so I can reference it. Cool. Fantastic. All right. The other shoe. Happiness always comes with a price. Turn the season. Love's fuse ignites a consuming fire. Now, I can sum this up a little better than it is right now. I think they've said at this point in the story, like I said, David and Veronica meet. He is a factory worker. He works at a light bulb factory. And I believe Veronica works at the same factory as him. And I think
they're robots.
Yeah. And so I think in that opening track in Queen of Hearts, there's a line like lefties handing pamphlets, coworkers coming in. I think it's implied that like Veronica is this like leftist, like radical, and he's just like some factory worker, and he sees her and like just immediately falls in love with her as she's, handing out a leaflet of some sort. Very quickly in the story, they fall in love. It's super intense. And then she dies really soon. Like she dies, I think Turn the Season is supposed to be where she dies. And she dies in a bomb blast in the factory. Like something explodes in the factory and she is killed in that bomb blast. Then I think like the next several songs, let me see where I'm at. Running on Nothing. Yeah. Another loss leads David to depression. Remember My Name. David condemns love in his lonely solace. A slanted tone. Vivian brings a new perspective to the fore, I think is what it says.
Sorry, who's Vivian?
Vivian is the next character who ends up getting introduced. I think the next like 2 songs after Veronica dies are mostly just David like mourning, kind of trying to continue on life, trying to figure out what happened, him learning of the news. And then this girl Vivian comes along. Sorry. And she kind of sheds a new light on what had happened, gives him some sort of like like closure in a way. Maybe not fully, but like she gives him some information, I believe, on what happened in the bomb blast, and I believe even names who's responsible for it too. And then I believe that's followed by Serve Me Right. David turns his back on love as his culpability is outlined. So I think he's going through the stages of grieving, I think, within this story as well. Love, loss, mourning a loved one who you were really connected with, but also you didn't know that for very long. I think, what is coming up here? Truth I Know? Yeah, so we're in the second act here.
Yeah, that's where we're at, yeah.
Cool. Truth I Know. Octavio, the narrator, is revealed as a participant in the events of the play. So apparently this is being narrated by a guy named Octavio. The band's great at just introducing shit like out of the blue.
Right.
And just expecting you to accept it. But yeah, so the in the second half of the story is when things kind of start to unravel. The fourth wall starts to break. Both this and Life in Paper, the next song, in which it says, David questions Octavio's motives and his role in the plot. So between these 2 songs, it's revealed to us that there's a narrator named Octavio. He is, I believe, responsible for Veronica's death, at least responsible for the explosion in the factory. But he's also the narrator. So, like, he's both the antagonist and, it's super strange how that is. And then Life in Paper is, I think, David actually realizing that he's in a play. He realizes that his whole life is a story being told by someone else. Not just, and yes, it's a story being told by Octavio, but also it's literally a story being told by people in our real world. So that's where it all it gets like kind of trippy in this part, I guess, in that way. And that's where I think it's kind of interesting.
Very Abed-esque.
Yeah. And I mean, the whole breaking of the fourth wall thing, I know it's a trope. I know it's overused. I think Ship of Fools here says, the personified David and Octavio spar in a side story. I read about this one in like this big interview they did about the record when it came out, like a song by song breakdown. This one was a little confusing. I think like there's literally like a whole side story where they're literally on a boat, like fighting the 2 of them. Nice. But like I said, everything's kind of breaking down at this point. So it sort of makes sense that just like there's this random scene where they're just on a boat because now we know that, none of this is real. There's a little death here. I think is a little death is what they call an orgasm, right?
That is, I believe in Britain that is a euphemism for orgasm.
Interesting, because they have a lot of euphemisms for
what
cum.
is?
A little death.
Oh.
I know that thanks to Plus 44, so that's where I get all my knowledge, is from Mark Hoppus.
Interesting.
Oh.
But a little death here says, defeated and resigned to his fate, David rationalizes his loss, thinking himself better off without love. So he's given up at this point. He's like, I can't possibly best the literal God, kind of. And like, right. My girlfriend's dead.
Wait, is Octavio God?
Not necessarily, but he may as well be. He's the narrator. Like, what are you gonna do? Like,
I always he doesn't represent God, or
I'm not really sure. I don't think they cover that, but I always thought that the narrator in a story was essentially God. Like every time there's like a self-aware narrator in a story, they're like, oh, I can just change things whenever I want because I say them.
Right.
That's what I've always thought. I don't know. But we're in the last act here.
Sure.
With I was there. Mm-hmm. Vivian reveals she was present at the scene of the crime. So apparently she was there during the explosion. I don't know what that has to do with anything.
Okay.
Inside a frame, Octavio reveals his true role. So yeah, I think this at this point in the story, like David's getting the full story of what happened. I don't necessarily know what Vivian had to do with it. I don't know if that's talked about very heavily. Like I said, I read through them talking about the record. A lot of it is just like vibes and like, hey, things have happened to this guy and he's feeling bad. Let's see here. One more night, David shares his last words with Veronica. So this one I do remember reading about. Oh.
Sorry, can we go back? I didn't hear you cover the recursive girl. Was there anything
my bad. I missed that one. Sorry. The recursive girl. Vivian considers the cycle of life and explains her history with David. So apparently she has a history with David that he may not know about. That he's learning. He's learning like literally everything he's ever known is a lie, essentially, I think at this point in the story. Then one more night is David shares his last words with Veronica, and they did say that this is meant to be like him kind of seeing a ghost or something that's supposed to bring him like actual closure and actual like I got to say goodbye to you type thing. Even though she's been dead for quite some time at this point in the story. And then Lights Go Out is David comes to life with love in his heart. And Lights Go Out is interesting because I think the way that the story ends, if I remember them talking about it correctly, the band, is that David essentially gives up at the end and kind of says like, well, I can either wallow in this and let this define me forever, or I can just go back to work and do it all again. And I guess he just chooses to do it again because if he does it again, he can at least experience love again.
Now, okay.
I think
Spotify. I just want to clarify something here because I'm just reading through the tracks on Spotify. That calls it Lights Go Up. Is Spotify wrong, or did you misspeak there?
This says Lights Go Up. What did I say?
Lights Go Out.
Oh, sorry. It is Lights Go Up. My bad.
Okay.
My bad.
So he just chooses to continue living basically the same story over again, is what you're saying?
Yes. It is. It's implied that everything just kind of repeats when he goes back to work at the end of the story. Okay.
So that, again, I've never gotten that far in the story. What I will say about this album is I remember maybe I'm just making this up, but I swear I have a memory of listening to our father podcast, Blink 155, and Sam and Josiah talking about, and I think they were joking, but they basically said, like, at one point that at the end of the album it's revealed that it's just like a bunch of punks in a mall making shit up or something, but maybe that was just a joke. But I always thought that was like, that's exactly how the story ended, it was just like, there was actually no deeper meaning. It was just like...
So, like, all right, so there's some truth in that. So like I said, the song Life in Paper is supposed to be him learning that he is a story on paper.
Okay.
The actual entire record, like as far as the lyrics and the narrative, Fucked Up met up at like a mall in Toronto after they had like written most of the music to it. And they're like, okay, like let's all meet up and actually like figure out what this record's about. Like we're going to write a narrative about it. We're going to set the story somewhere. Like the story has a whole like setting and everything. Like it's set in England in the 70s, I think. Yeah, like there's a whole backstory. And they did all of that at a mall food court. And
cool.
I think that's what they were getting at there, is that like that David learns that his life is a story being written by some dudes at a mall food court.
Okay.
And whether that's directly covered in it, I don't think so. I don't think there's a direct reference to that, but I think that's what the joke they were making was.
Gotcha. Okay, I think that explains the story. Brian, do you have any questions about the story they're telling here?
It's a little vague.
Not really. I didn't really pay attention to it when I was like listening to the album, which I have to admit I fell asleep during.
That's so unlike you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like I'd wake up every now and then and hear like a really cool punk riff, and then like Damien screaming and being like, "Okay, yeah, this sounds about right."
But you've heard this album before, though, right? Like you've actually made it through this album awake, correct? At some point in your life.
I don't know about this one.
Great.
That's fine. Like it's all kind of the same. Like if you've made it through the first half, you've basically heard the second half. And honestly, the first half is better. I think The Other Shoe is maybe like one of their best songs ever. It's like a top 3 for me for them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so in a minute here, we'll get into our typical thing we do with albums, which is live videos and covers. But I think maybe now at this point, I want to talk about why I've asked you to be on here, aside from your expert knowledge. You've enlightened me a lot, but more importantly, I've just kind of gathered through some of the things you've said on your podcast and some of the things you've said to me that this is a really important album to you. If you don't mind, I'm just going to read back a couple of things you said to me back in June when I had mentioned that I was trying to get through this album.
Go for it. I don't remember what I said.
Okay, you said, David Comes to Life is like an incredible album. Like maybe it just hit me at the right time, but I've loved it since I first listened to it. And then it's really concept heavy, but I think all the music is good on its own, and to be honest, has some of their best songs on it. Like The Other Shoe just holds up so well as its own thing that you don't even need the record for context, but having the context makes it hit really hard, I think.
Yeah.
I've learned, and then I mentioned that like it was hard for me because like hardcore lyrics or vocals are hard for me to understand, and you said, I've learned to hear Damien's voice, so it's a little easier for me. It's worth reading the Wikipedia summary of the album's plot. I have this big insert in vinyl sleeve, which you've referenced already, that is like a playbill for the whole record that explains every, quote, act of the, quote, play. Even with a brief summary and some lyrics up in front of you, it ends up feeling like you've seen a really well-executed local theater production. Nothing too insane plot-wise and really nothing new, but it's done with passion, and in context of the band is such an interesting venture to take. Sorry, I lost my place here.
It's cool. I was probably kind of high when I wrote that.
But
sounds like it.
And I'm sorry, I guess that was the end of the message. And
okay.
It probably helps to listen to a couple of their earlier tracks when they just played hardcore to get the scope of how far removed it is from where they were. Maybe this is all just in my head, but hey, I really enjoy the record. So like that kind of back and forth has kind of always stuck with me. And because I'm such a poor planner, it wasn't until the day we were planning to record this album, I was like, oh, I should reach out to Veronica and see if she wants to be on this episode. So
yeah.
First of all, apologies for that. Secondly, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it. But maybe help me understand, because we've talked at length about Behind the Paywall, about albums that really mean a lot to us. For me, it's Everything in Transit by Jackson Anakin. Brian has a few he's talked about. But I really want to understand, what does this album mean to you and why?
I don't know. Like, something about the story hit me really hard. The relationship between the characters. I think The Other Shoe, especially, like to use that song as like the kind of shiny example on this record.
Okay.
That song uses like some really interesting like religious imagery that calls back really well to what's going on in the story. That when all of it kind of lines up and you're like, oh, like he's referencing like this real thing that's connecting with this thing, but also like could just connect with some dude listening to the song who doesn't fucking know anything about David or any of that shit. Right. That could really hit hard. And I don't know. Like I found some inspiration in like there's a hopelessness to a lot of it, but there's also a lot of hope that comes back. There's a lot of like very real emotion in this that I think like people really go through. It doesn't feel like a super I don't know, it's a super made up story, obviously, but like,
right.
You know, when you lose a loved one, or you know, when life changes in such a heavy way so fast, and all you can do is really brace for it. Like, that's a lot of what this record is saying is like, you know, everything can change. Your whole life can be turned upside down at any moment, and you just kind of have to roll with that sometimes.
Okay.
And I think that's what a lot of it is saying. I think, sorry, I had to give Frank something. I don't know. I think that was hitting me really hard, and I always come back to that idea, like, you know, all of this could just come crumbling down at any moment. Like, all of it could be gone. Like, the biggest or smallest thing could happen, and everything could change. And sometimes you just have to embrace that and do your best with what you're given. And that's what happens in this record. I mean, like, David falls in love so fast and so heavily, and then, like, not only is his life changed in that way, but he very quickly realizes after that like everything's a lie, like, and none of it really matters. And so he's like, well, I'm just gonna live my life the way I can and the way that I know how. And you know, there's a respect to that, I think. And this isn't the beginning or the end of David's story in any way. There's a lot more to this, but this snapshot of it, I think, is really interesting. And like, if I may get if I may get a little emotional here before we start the video section.
Absolutely.
Obviously, if anyone's not familiar, I go by toes.exe on the internet. That's my Twitter handle. Follow me for some really unhinged tweets.
Sorry, just to help make sure you get the right recognition, your Twitter handle is actually at exetoes.
Sorry.
So if anyone's listening, at exetoes is who you should follow.
Sorry, if you search toes.exe just in a search bar, you'll find me. Yeah. I think I have decent SEO.
I think so. Yeah.
So you may know me as that on the internet if you find me. I go by Veronica in real life. I'm a trans woman. Welcome to that. And I get my name from this record. I get my name from this character, as a matter of fact. I
was wondering that the whole time.
Yeah, and sorry, this is the big reveal. I was actually going to say it earlier, and I just kind of forgot to, and then we got on a different topic, and I was like, whatever. But so I get my name from this, and it doesn't have anything to do with really the story or anything. I really liked the name, and I picked it, and I don't know, I connected with it, and it felt right at the time. So that's where I get it from. Hey, big surprise, it turns out a lot of trans people do that. They take the name of a character that, or a person or whatever that they really like, or that they find some meaning in, and that's what I did. So I kind of owe a lot to this record for that, so I always come back to it. I don't listen to it a lot, necessarily. I'll throw a track or two on sometimes. Sometimes I'll sit and listen to it again, but it's not like a regular on my playlist. I skip plenty of these when they come up. But that's what I wanted to say was all. It really connected with me in, you know, the emotions that it expressed. I thought the music was really cool. I thought, wow, this is a really neat thing for this kind of band to do at this point in time. And it kind of just helped me through a time also when, like, I felt like my life was changing a lot.
Right.
You know?
Well,
so that's what it means to me.
Thank you for sharing that with us. And I think, I think that kind of helps me understand at least why maybe it doesn't necessarily help me understand why it's such an important album, although I think you've explained that, but it helps me understand maybe the scope of how important it is to you, like to make a decision like that and say it's because you connected to something on this album. I think, that kind of really sums up what this must mean for you. Yeah.
And like the character in the album isn't exactly very deep or anything like that. There's not
right. Yeah.
There's not much to it. I mean, she's only alive for
like 3 or 4 songs, right?
Yeah, exactly. if you count the first track, yeah. But I don't know. Sometimes just something feels right, and you go with it, and you roll with it, and sometimes your whole fucking life changes because of it. But
right,
you know, it's what happens, and sometimes it's not your choice, sometimes it is. I don't know. But that's why this record means so much to me. But I've also come to understand that, you know, not everything that means something to me is going to mean something to the next guy or girl or whoever. So that's cool too.
Gotcha. Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, okay, that's great. Should we get into some videos here? I don't know. Whenever we talk, you never have your camera on, which is fine, but I don't know if that means you can see my screen if I share it or not.
Oh, no, I can see it. Let me just bring Zoom back up.
Okay.
Turn my little... Oh, yeah, there we go. I can see you just fine.
Perfect.
It's mostly because you wouldn't be able to see me anyways in this room. Like, it's so dark in here.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like honestly, if I put the camera on, my phone, is in the worst case, so I can't, stand it up against anything. It's, super rounded on the side, so it just falls. Yeah, it's... I have an iPhone. What are you going to do? And then...
you get an Android, that's what you do.
You know... Maybe one day. Maybe one day when Steve Jobs lets my fucking asshole go, gets his finger out of my butthole. I'll do that. You know.
Okay.
I know he's dead, but he's still firmly in there.
All right. That's weird. Okay. Now, have you ever seen Fucked Up live? I guess we didn't talk about it. Is this band you've seen live?
No, but I am going to go see them next month.
Oh, really? Okay.
And sorry. I should say this too. They're doing the David Comes to Life tour. It's the 10-year anniversary of David Comes to Life. They're playing the whole record.
Wow.
And I'm seeing them. Yeah, I'm seeing them next month in Columbus. I'm really excited.
That's super exciting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this all just kind of lined up, you know.
Right, for sure. Okay. Well, let's check out a few live videos here. This is them playing. Oh, wow, this video may be inappropriate for some users.
Oh, what video is this?
It's them playing Queen of Hearts live from 2011.
Yeah, I've seen this video, yeah. That's weird. It's not inappropriate in any way.
This is our first song, hello, sir, called Queen of Hearts.
You know, Ben Cook is not in the band anymore.
I don't know who that is.
He's the guy in the sunglasses right there.
Okay.
Yeah, apparently he's not in the band anymore as of this year.
Oh wow. Okay. Do we know why?
I think he's just busy.
Oh, okay.
From what I gathered.
There's a project called Young Gov that's quite good.
Yeah, they're pretty popular apparently.
Oh, and
anything in no warning.
The band has a female in their lineup. Is that correct?
Yeah, their bass player.
Yeah, the bass player.
Oh wow, I did not know that.
Yeah. Yeah,
obviously, I've done my research.
They basically had the same lineup for, I think, the whole time. I think they had a maybe different drummer at first. But it's mostly just been them. I'm not getting a great frame rate here, but I'm familiar with this video, and I think it's a good performance.
Yeah, it seems like a really good performance.
Yeah, I mean, most of the videos I see of them live, it's like Damien could give a shit about how good he's doing, and the rest of the band is just holding him up. But he's there to put on a show and to be the big hardcore guy screaming. And I think that's perfect.
Okay, yeah, that serves a role.
Yeah.
Okay, this next one, I actually have a question for you, Brian, about this, because I saw you and I think Will for Thrill having a discourse about this maybe a month ago or so. This is Fucked Up performing The Other Shoe on George Stroumboulopoulos, and you guys were, I believe, talking about how your moms really like this guy. Who is this guy?
Oh,
he's
George Strombo.
Yeah,
he's this big music personality in Canada.
Okay.
God, what's the American version of him?
Ryan Seacrest?
No.
No. Okay. He's more of isn't he kind of a late night guy? Or does he just do music?
I don't know.
Because he does the whole House of Strombo things where he has bands come over to his house and play, or something. I don't know. I don't know who I'd compare him to, but yeah, he's some big Canadian TV personality with a really funny last name.
Okay. And Brian, your mom thoroughly enjoys him? Is that am I remembering that correctly?
I was just in her car the other like a week or two ago, and she had his radio show on for some reason.
Okay.
I don't know if she knew him or whatever.
Okay, well, yeah, that's the only reason I picked this video is because I know I saw you talking about this online recently. So this is them playing The Other Shoe on George Stroumboulopoulos tonight.
All right, you're back here on the program. From the heights of the Polaris Prize to the widths of a rock opera, this is one of our favorite bands going right now. This is a dynamite album called David.
It looks like this is from December of 2011.
And fresh.
Cool.
You may remember their Christmas performance.
Right when it came out.
I'm excited to have
okay, so that's... See, I don't even know what year it came out.
Yeah, it came out in 2011.
Okay.
We just felt that the praise we got.
There's like an intro here.
Yeah, there's a little bit. There you go. Man, this song fucking rules. Like, it's such a simple little riff they start with, and then they just keep like building and building until it's like, I don't know, until he gets to that line. Fuck, what is it? At least we know Judas had the balls to make a move on these building doubts. He knew how this Messiah would play out. Something like that. I don't know. It's somewhere around that. The song just fucking takes off.
Mm-hmm. So obviously there are some female vocals on this album, but it doesn't look like it's the bass player who performs them. Who is it that performs the female vocals?
Live. Well, this is just, I don't know. This is some Canadian singer that they brought on that I don't know the name of.
Okay.
Because it's live TV, you know.
Sure,
but
enough.
Live, like in the Queen of Hearts video, the female vocals are just done between their bass player and I think Ben Cook actually does them in that video. So it's just a combination of them, like, you know, making up for it.
But do you know who does it on the actual album?
It might be this lady. I don't know.
Okay.
They have, like, especially in their later releases, they have like so many guests on their records. Like, Dose Your Dreams is just fucking lined with guest vocalists. Like I said, there are whole songs on that record that Damien doesn't sing on.
Oh, really?
Yeah, just straight up. Like, not many, but like, yeah, for sure. And then a lot of the other bandmates have been like doing more vocals lately too, here and there. But yeah, it's always like a cast of like Canadian singers and people that they know from the music industry.
Gotcha. Okay. All right, well, let's get into some covers now. This is a cover of Queen of Hearts. It says Annie Petite cover. I don't know what that means.
I've seen this cover. I don't really know who this person is.
So is Annie Petite the name of this person? Because it's just in parentheses, so...
Yeah, it's like, I think it's her in like a band maybe playing. Yeah, I've seen this.
Let's kind of go to the middle.
I think she starts the song like right away too.
Your name is Veronica. Let's be together. Let's fall in love. Hello, you must be David.
Is she like Celtic or something? There's like a
Yeah, she has
some sort of accent there.
I think she might just be British.
Okay.
I think she's British and also doing the Halsey voice
Okay.
at the same time. Oh, I don't know if you have this on your playlist, but do you guys know the band Pup?
I do have that right here. So let's go on to that. I've got Pup. I'm not super familiar with them outside of Blink-155, but I do have a cover of them here playing Queen of Hearts.
Pup is so good.
As part of some sort of series. You're a Pup hater?
Yeah.
You're a Pup hater? Come on, man. Why you gotta hate on Pup?
Sounds like the Burnout soundtrack.
It sounds like the Burnout soundtrack? Do you not like the Burnout soundtrack? You're not familiar? Or do you not like the Beastie Boys? Come on, man.
They're on the Burnout soundtrack?
I don't know. They should be.
Oh.
I don't know. I really like Pup. I've been following them a long time since their first record came out. I saw them on that tour. When they toured with like the Menzingers in 2014. They were super good. I don't know. I like Pup. I don't know. But it's probably not it's not music for Brian, I don't think.
Okay, well here they are playing Queen of Hearts.
Now Tube.
Ouch, yeah. Okay, well, the guy playing the drums looks like Damien.
A little bit, actually. Like, I think they're from the same city as Fucked Up.
And because I've researched this heavily, I know what city that is, but maybe if you could tell our listeners... Oh, okay, of course, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
The only city in Canada that matters.
Right, yeah, that's definitely true.
Yeah. I'm saying that in the CanCon season, too.
Right, yeah. Okay, this is someone named Eric Dean also doing a cover of Queen of Hearts. It's got like some thick glasses here. I don't know what type of cap that is.
Oh. I haven't heard this.
Sounds like Against Me.
Yeah. It does sound like Against Me. I like it.
Yeah, that's actually a compliment. I like Against Me.
Yeah, hell yeah. Nice.
Yeah, I think that was good.
Alex, it's up to you if you want to edit out my bong rips. I've been muting the mic, but I realize I'm not muting like my recording mic.
Oh, nice.
So up to you on that one. I think I've only done it twice.
That's fine. Whatever. I mean, if I edit around all of the stuff Brian does, I'm sure I can handle a couple of bong rips. So
let's clip Alex saying, "I'm sure I can handle a couple of bong rips."
Right. That's all that we need from this episode, really. Okay. I don't want to spend all that on this. This is the last one I've got. I mean, I've got others, but this is the last one I'm going to play. This is a band called Maps for Travelers. They're doing as they put it, an effed up cover, and it's Other Shoe, and it's from something called the Middle of the Map Fest.
Okay, they're covering The Other Shoe. Fun.
So let's see what this is all about.
I don't think I've heard anyone cover this song yet. Oh.
Okay.
I'm so stoked to hear how they do the vocals. Oh, nice. Okay. He's kind of doing it in like a modern rock voice that I don't like that much, but I do like this cover though.
I'm sorry, how does this sound any different than Damien's voice? It just sounds like
the cadence. It's just the cadence he's using, I think. I don't know. I guess it's no different. Yeah, you're right.
Oh, okay, so we've got a trumpet player here, which reminds me, were there horns on this album? I swear there are songs where I hear horns.
Oh, probably, yeah.
So, I mean, I think that was a very, straight-ahead cover, which it was good. I enjoyed that. But yeah, the trumpet definitely piqued my interest, because I remember driving around today listening to this thinking, do I hear horns?
Yeah, there's definitely some, there's horns, there's full-on, string sections, there's all sorts of shit on this record.
Does that make this a ska album?
Maybe.
I think Danny can answer that for us. We'll let Danny answer on Twitter, but I'm just going to declare right here that Fucked Up's David Comes to Life is a ska album. So,
it can be a ska album to you, Alex.
Anything with horns is ska. If I learned anything from our episode with Danny, that's what it was.
I think my drummer would have something to say about that. He was in a ska band, so
I think Danny will have something to say about that too, but I'm pretty sure I'm right, so it's fine.
Right, cool.
As long as it sounds like something that you want to eat mozzarella sticks to or something. I don't know. Danny will help me figure this all out.
Well, is there anything else you guys want to know from me? Anything else you want from me?
Well, before we get to final thoughts, I do have one last thing that I want to share here, and that, so as we know, in most of the episodes we've done this season relating to music, I've recruited the help of others to get some sort of cover. Now, Veronica, you were kind enough to do a Weaker Than's cover, which turned out phenomenal, by the way.
Oh, thank you. That was really fun.
Yeah. And so the whole thing with like asking you to do the Weaker Thans was I wanted people to do bands that they weren't familiar with. So the person I reached out to for this one, I was like, I don't think they'll know this one. And they were like, oh shit, I'm super stoked because I fucking love this album. It's like my favorite album ever. I was like, oh god damn it. And then like, and I felt bad because I was like, I know this album means a lot to you. And then I didn't want you to be like offended that I didn't ask you to cover this. But I just want to go on the record here saying I had no idea this person liked this album. But we did get a cover from Make Believe. Unfortunately,
nice.
So at the end of this, we have to pretend we really liked his vocals because he doesn't have vocals on it yet, but he's going to submit something to me before this episode drops.
Oh, okay, sick.
So this is an instrumental version. I said, is there anything you want me to say when introducing it? And Skylar, a.k.a. Make Believe, said, it's the song Turn the Season, so that's the one he's chosen. It doesn't have the vocals yet, and there are a few more guitar edits to make, but the vibe that I'm going for is there. It's one of my top 10 albums of all time. I think it's almost perfect. I listen to the album front to back when I go running. It's my go-to running music, perfect for getting stoked.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So, I mean, at this time, it's an instrumental version. That's what we're going to hear here, but our listeners are going to hear the full version. So here is Make Believe with Turn the Season.
Oh yeah, this is a make-believe track.
Oh sure, yeah, this definitely has all the hallmarks so far. Doing some interesting things with panning that I really like. I don't know if that's coming through outside of my computer, but
no, it's all mono for me, but it still sounds good.
I know I've heard this song, but I can't remember it well enough to know. I mean, obviously nothing on this album sounds like this, I don't think.
Yeah, it's hard to say where the lyrics might be coming in.
Right.
He also could be doing like an entirely different melody.
But yeah, there it is. Good job on the vocals, Skylar. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, that was awesome. I loved what you were going for.
Yeah, the singing was just like top notch, and I'm sure all our listeners will agree. Yeah,
probably the best
vocals
part.
were the best part. Absolutely,
they were.
Okay, Brian, let's start with you. Final thoughts on "Fucked Up." David Comes to Life.
Yeah, it's not a bad album to vibe to and smoke weed to.
Are there any bad albums to smoke weed to?
Oof.
There are, yeah. There are albums
for sure.
Harsh or mellow or whatever.
What about "Play" by Great Big Sea?
Yeah, that was a bad one.
It's a bad one to get high to? It seems like that'd be a great one to get high to because it sucks so bad you just want to be high and not think about how awful it is, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay.
But it really took me out of my element in a bad way.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I think this is probably a great album. What I've heard of it is really good. I'm hoping one day I get through it. Maybe a road trip by myself, which I don't think will ever happen again. But maybe one day I will get through this album and I will be able to report back to the Grundle that, yeah, it's pretty good. So Veronica, because you're our guest and the one maybe that knows the most about this album and cares about it the most, I want you to have the final word. What is the final thought on David Comes to Life by Fucked Up?
It's a big stepping stone for this band. And I think it's something that they made to have some sort of staying power. I think it does have that. I think it's connected with enough people that must be true. And I don't know. I hope people continue to discover it and enjoy it the way that I have, despite, discovering it 8-9 years down the road after it's come out.
Sure.
And I don't know, this band's clearly inspiring to a lot of people, and I mean, from the covers we saw, it clearly still is.
Right.
So go see this band if you can. They're super fun live from what I've seen, and I'll be doing that soon here myself. I don't know. I love this band. I like Fucked Up. I think they're fun.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much. Before we let you go, is there anything you have to plug other than your podcast, which we mentioned earlier?
Yeah, go check that out. My band's probably going to release some new music soon enough, or record some, or fucking try to. I don't know. I'm in a band called the Southside Choir Boys, though. Listen to us on Spotify. Get our fucking streaming numbers up. We weren't on any end of the year raps, and we're pretty pissed about that. Wasn't even on our own.
Not even on your own? Okay, well.
No, yeah.
No one to blame but yourselves, then.
I mean, I don't use Spotify, so you're 100% right. It's my fault.
All right, yeah. So go check out Southside Choir Boys. Check out the past episodes of Thank You for the Podcast. We have confirmation here that there is more in the works. So
absolutely
keep a lookout for that. Follow Veronica at EXEToes and the podcast at Thanks for the Pod. There's some vowels. I don't know. This is the same joke I make every time. It's getting old, but I'm never going to stop. So yeah, thank you so much for being here, Veronica, and thanks to everyone for listening.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, yeah.
The Zeitgeist Lab Collections podcast, hosted by Brian and Alex, edited by Polyfi Alex, executive produced by Pan Blurry for Itchy Grundle Podcast.